What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Prison Break Resurrection Season 1, Episode 8, Progeny. I'm starting to realize that maybe I shouldn't call this Season 1. It probably should just be Episode 8, because I feel like this is just going to be a 9-series event just to sort of put an end to this whole story and kind of wrap up all the stories that we had questions about after the last Prison Break season. So based on that, it is looking like they're just kind of trying to give Michael and Sarah a happy ending. So I've had a few problems coming into the final 2 episodes of this season. Just a few things that they've done, a few cliches they pulled out that have really frustrated me. Unfortunately, this episode did not do well to quell any of those problems that I had, so let's talk about it piece by piece. First of all, we start off this episode. All of the guys are stuck in Marseille trying to find a way back home because Michael realizes that Jacob has Sarah. He's figured it out, and he's pretending to be Sarah. So he's trying to find a way back to the States. They managed to contact this one guy that Lincoln owes a ton of money to get him a ride back to the States. He puts this plan in place that Jacob doesn't seem to have an answer for. We've been tracking his phone. They go to where the phone is and find out, oh no, it was Sucre on the back of the plane with his phone. And so, we find out that Michael's just been planning this whole thing. He's been putting these pieces into place. The one I want to talk about first, though, is the one that I have a little bit of a hiccup with. So we see Whip is sent to Chicago. And it's just like, well, why is he going to Chicago? I thought you were going to New York. Why are you sending me away? It's like, you're going to find out why you're my whip hand. And so he, uses the information that Michael gave him, finds out he has to go to Lake Michigan, heads out there to the middle of the lake, goes to a buoy, finds some sort of jar in there as, I don't know why Teabag happened to be here at this time, but it was apparently foreshadowing. But he's sitting there talking about, he's making some sort of audio thing, and he had a note from Michael saying that he had to take a life. And so he's talking about, if I do take a life, it's not going to be the old Teabag. This is going to be a new Teabag. And so I don't know, it seemed kind of out of place until we come to realize after Whip comes back to shore, Teabag's there, and I'm just like, wait, you're taking his life? He puts some envelopes in his pocket and apparently tells him that he's his son. It's just like, well, this is out of left field. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why this was such a big deal. Obviously, okay, Teabag is his son, congrats for him. But why do we spend so much time with this whole, you're my whip? It's a secret why you're my whip. You're going to find out later why you're my whip. He's Teabag's son. That's all you needed to know. We couldn't just find this out earlier. We had to spend an entire quarter of this episode watching Whip try to find out where he needs to go, ultimately find out that his dad is kind of a dick. I don't understand the importance of it, and I don't understand Michael's letter either. Either the take a life was supposed to be metaphorical, in which case, screw you for trying to throw us off, or it's supposed to be like Teabag actually has some sort of point to this series and some sort of point to Michael's overall plan, and the last thing he wanted to do before he has to do whatever Michael needs him to do is, tell Whip he's his father and get to see his son one last time before he takes a life and does whatever he needs to do. I assume he's probably got some sort of maybe a suicide plan in place to where now he gets to atone for all of his sins by helping Michael out and sacrificing himself. I don't know, it just seems like something the show writers would do. But yeah, that was definitely the most out of place story. I hate the fact that Sucre wasn't involved hardly at all. Just that one scene in the plane where he has Michael's phone and the agents come in and then Sucre's walking off the plane. How did they not notice him? You know who he's working with. You know who's a part of Michael's little group. You should have been looking for everybody, not just Michael. But anyway, we also see C-Note comes in to help out with Lincoln's little problem with these people he owes monies to. Michael pretends like he's a DEA agent, and then it's like, hey, call the people, and so they call, and then Sheba and I guess one of her little followers show up in DEA agent clothes and these trucks. Ultimately, the guys figure out that it was all set up because they have cameras, which I assume Michael knows about. And this kind of leads into the last part of the episode where we see Michael has this whole thing in place. He goes to the house. He texts Jacob, pretending that he's talking to Sarah, and pretty much sets up a meeting place for him and Sarah, knowing that Jacob's going to be there. And so they have this whole thing set up where they follow Jacob, they follow the agents. There was one scene in the midst of all of this that was really dumb where Lincoln follows the guy agent, and so he's following him. The girl agent, meanwhile, is following Lincoln because Jacob sees this whole plan and is like, follow him. And so they get to a point where Lincoln's walking and he's pretending to be just focused on the guy ahead of him. The woman's behind him. All of a sudden a bus goes by and Lincoln disappears. And I've seen this before. I've seen this done in shows before. It's this clever little thing that they think is so super clever where it's like, oh, bus drives by, guy disappears, ooh, Jason Bourne. That only works whenever the person is watching them from the other side of the street. Lincoln was here, the woman was here, and the bus drove here in front of our view. How did he disappear from her view? Hello? It's not like she's walking on this side of the street and then the bus crosses and he's gone. It's like, oh, how did he do that? Bus crosses here. She should completely see where he went. And I guess maybe he ducked into the parking garage and she saw that. But she acted like, holy crap, he just disappeared. Where did he go? When clearly she should have seen exactly where he went. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I was just like, why? That's stupid. But anyway, so they do all this stuff. She goes in the parking garage. There's no reception. Instead of going out of the parking garage and talking on her phone, she goes over to Jacob's car. So obviously this was all part of Jacob's plan to have him followed so Mike can get the piece of paper from Mike Jr. thinking it's from him. Obviously it was drawn by Jacob because we saw an earlier scene where he found out about Mike's drawings and was like, oh, look at this. He's so clever. And so, I don't know. It's one of those things, if they hadn't shown us that scene, I would have been like, ooh, Mike Jr. can draw these pictures and leave clues for his dad because he's just like his dad. That's pretty cool. But ultimately, because we saw Jacob finding this out, it's very obvious that this is a picture Jacob drew. And so Mike goes to this house where the picture's leading him to. Link is sitting outside in the car. Ultimately, this all leads to this big climactic thing where it's like, oh, cliffhanger guys for the finale. The guys that Lincoln owes money to drive up beside him, shoot. We see blood dripping on his hand, which I assume means he got nicked, but I'm sure he's fine. Mike goes into the house after we see Mike Jr. go into the room where Sarah's supposed to be and go, and so very clearly, instead of like crying and running to his mom, he just walks out of the room. So obviously that's not Sarah, but Mike walks into the house anyway, talking to his son. He's like, I saw the picture that you drew for me, and Mike Jr.'s just like, I didn't draw a picture, Dad. And that's when the woman agent stands up, takes off the wig looking like Sarah, pulls out a gun. We hear a gunshot. They throw beet juice up on the window to make us think, oh no, Mike got shot in the head. But ultimately, I don't feel any tension. And the problem is, they made us believe in the previous show, in this current show, they made us believe that Mike has a contingency plan for everything. There's not one detail he's never thought out. Even with a guy like Jacob, who's super smart, I have no doubt that Michael's thought of every single little detail and has planned out every single little detail to the point where even though all these little things are going on that make us think, oh, Jacob's got Michael cornered. It's gonna be Jacob coming out on top this time. Ooh, what's gonna happen? I never feel that way. I always feel like there's a plan in place. I feel like Mike looked at the picture that Mike Jr. supposedly drew for him. They're just like, this is too well drawn to be Mike Jr. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it's just too well drawn. And so, I don't know, I feel no tension going to the final episode because ultimately, I feel like everything's just going to work out okay. I don't feel like there's going to be any problems. I don't feel like there's going to be an issue where something bad might happen, mainly because this show feels like it's been set up for Michael to have a happy ending. And so, that's how I feel. I feel like he's going to be okay, Sarah's going to be okay, Mike Jr. is going to be okay, they're going to be able to start a family again. Lincoln, I feel like, is going to be okay. He and Sheba are going to hook up in the end. I feel like the only one that's going to get the short end of the stick is probably going to be Teabag. And ultimately, it's going to be a chance for him to atone for everything he's done by sacrificing himself. So, I don't know. It feels so planned and so cliche to the Prison Break formula. I just don't feel the tension that they're trying to force me to feel. And that's a problem. So, obviously, one more episode left. I'm probably about to watch it after I get this video uploaded. And just see how it all ends. So, hopefully it's a little bit better. Prediction-wise, I assume it's all going to work out okay. I don't think there are going to be any main problems, but I guess we'll see. Maybe the show writers have something amazing planned that I'm just not expecting, but I don't see that happening because it feels like everything this season has gone exactly to formula, exactly to plan. I don't see any problems happening, so that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? What were your thoughts when you're heading into the final episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Prison Break reviews. I'll see you guys in the last episode. Peace out.